2 weeks to the day since 17 of their friends and teachers were shot and killed, the students of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High returned to school this morning under a heavy police presence.
It was very difficult to grapple with everything, especially with the freshman building, which is where the tragedy happened. There's a fence built around it, and there's armed officers at all times, including through the night now. And walking through there to get to some of my classes, it was tough.
Florida Governor Rick Scott has since announced an extra $500 million for school safety in the state to be spent on metal detectors, bulletproof glass, steel doors. But the Parkland students who have formed the Never Again movement want bigger changes and broader gun reform. Florida lawmakers failed to pass an assault rifle ban this week, as well as a ban on bump stocks. But a bill that would raise the age limit to buy a gun to 21 years old is moving forward there. And in Congress, so far, they've moved nowhere fast on anything. The president met this afternoon with lawmakers from both parties and made this somewhat unusual announcement.
We're determined to turn our grief into action. I really believe that. I think that the people at this table want it. I mean, I see some folks that don't say nice things about me, and that's okay. Because if you turn that into this energy, I'll love you. I don't care.
Trump then said his lawyers are in the process of preparing an executive order which would ban bump stocks. But many argued that is nowhere near enough, and now a bunch of corporations are adding their voices, like Delta Airlines, which has publicly cut ties with the NRA, and Dick's Sporting Goods, which announced today they would stop selling assault-style rifles and high-capacity magazines, and that they're raising the minimum age for all gun sales to 21.
We need to take a stand on this. And those kids talk about enough is enough. And we had meaningful conversations about this with our team, and we concluded that if these kids are brave enough to organize and do what they're doing, then we should be brave enough to take this stand. And that's what we've done.
Of note, Dick's also ended assault rifle sales after the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, but then started selling them again at their Field and Stream stores. This time, they say, there is no reversing their ban. Joining me are Lila Alphonse. She's managing editor for news at U.S. World News Report. Good to see you, Lila. Former Congressman Bill Delahunt, who was acting director for another week at Harvard's Institute of Politics. Good to see you. And Jennifer Nassour, former chair of the Massachusetts Republican Party. Jennifer, thanks for being here, too. Let me start with you, Lila. Teenagers have raised the hopes of gun control advocates. I know it's early. It's only 2 weeks out since the horror down there. But is there reason for optimism, or is this going to be deja vu all over again in Congress?
I think there's absolutely reason for optimism.
Why?
This is a generation that was brought up with everything they read, all their entertainments about kids saving the world because adults didn't step up. This is what they think they're supposed to do.
So where do you see the adults acting like adults where he used to work?
It depends. I think a lot of them are inspired to actually put forth change because the kids aren't going to accept anything less.
I have to say, I don't see that. The keys to this, obviously, in Congress are Republicans. They control Rick Scott, Marco Rubio, and a congressman who lost both his legs in combat are Republicans who are open to lots of changes. They have one thing in common. They're all from Florida. Do you see anything coming from the other 49 states that suggests that her optimism and these kids' optimism is well-founded?
I think it's a little too optimistic. I mean, I would like to say that I hope that there is some momentum behind this moment in time. These kids are going to be voters in the very near future, and hopefully at that point they can start making differences and they can start implementing policy and helping these politicians. Unfortunately, though, in Congress, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, this issue has been going on and has been an issue for years. I mean, Sandy Hook already was, the Democrats were in control,
which they did nothing.
Right? And they didn't do anything. So it's not a Republican or Democratic issue. It's a let's get these politicians off of their rear ends and make them do something.
I think you're going to see it at the state level, though.
What's that?
I think you're going to see it at the state level, not the federal level right now.
On the federal level, we used to work with those 400 and some people. Do they care what these kids have to say? They'll all say the right things.
Oh, they're going to care.
What does that mean?
They're going to care in 2018.
Why do you say that?
Why? Because I think this is the year of the women at the polls and the year of the millennials. You will see, I'll make this prediction here, that you will see a larger percentage of young people, so-called millennials, going out to vote. And this is going to drive them to the polls.
But, Bill Delahunt, historically, Chuck Todd said this from Meet the Press when he was on the radio with us, I think, a week or two ago when he said it. Republicans on issues like guns are single-issue voters. Democrats, your party, are generally not single-issue voters. They vote on a broad spectrum of things. So
I'm
why all of a sudden is that? You just think all these people are going to be drawn out?
I'm talking about the cohort of the millennials in terms of the voting population. They're going out. And as a Democrat, a large D Democrat, that augurs well for Democrats.
Can I stay on her optimism just for a second? I hope this doesn't sound as crass as it feels. I don't think the average congressperson gives a damn about what these kids say, even though they'll say it. But they do care about Delta Airlines and United. They do care about Dick's Sporting Goods and businesses. We learned that during the gay and lesbian fight, and the transgender fight in North Carolina, a place like that. And will they move your former colleagues?
They do care of getting reelected. Okay?
I would agree. Yeah.
And you know what? As I said, the percentage of the voters who are millennials in the past have had a poor showing at the polls.
Donald Trump didn't bring him out, did he?
The juniors and seniors in high school.
No, I meant Donald Trump didn't bring him out on Hillary Clinton's side, did he?
No.
But the juniors and seniors in high school in 2016 who couldn't vote can now. The juniors not so much, but most seniors in high school in America right now will either be eligible to vote or will turn 18 before Election Day, so they're eligible to register.
You know, he knows much more about politics than I do. I will acknowledge that. How many times have we heard predictions that young people were going to be so appalled by X or Y that they were going to flood to the polls? And how many times did that actually happen?
How many times have we seen them so worked up about and so articulate about and so willing to put themselves on the line for an issue like this?
So I do think that the one piece here is that, you know, February and November
are a long ways away.
And, you know, anything could happen. And so these kids that are seniors in high school are going to get their college acceptance letters. They're going to be going away to college. Are they going to actually vote? Are they going to actually send in their absentee ballots?
Can I work back from November for one more second? They both seem to be talking about midterm elections. Let's talk about now for one more second. When businesses get involved here. Again, we saw in North Carolina how it changed things pretty dramatically when the NBA and Bruce Springsteen and corporations said, we're not doing North Carolina until you change your laws there. Are businesses going to change the mind of some, at least currently inflexible Republicans in Congress, or are they locked in with the NRA?
And so, Jim, that is the question. I think more so than the kids, what's going to change? You see in private equity and hedge funds and investments where people are saying, I don't want my investments to be with companies that are tied to the NRA. And I think that if you start seeing finance change where they are going to put money, minds are changing.
Okay, while the Florida students are working on change en masse, back in Washington, there are a pair of people not much older with far more concentrated power. Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, the first daughter and first son-in-law, both of whom have been given a lot of responsibility. That was until questions started swirling about the fact that Jared still did not have a permanent security clearance. Asked whether Kushner would get permanent clearance last week, the president deferred to his chief of staff, John Kelly.
He's going to do what's right for the country, and I have no doubt he'll make the right decision.
And decision made. Kushner's top security clearance, as you know, has now been pulled, leading to questions about his future role in the White House. You know, love or hate Trump, and you're a Republican who we know from the show is not crazy about Donald Trump. Have we now learned that hiring your relatives is not a wonderful idea, even if you love Donald Trump? Is that not clear at this point?
You know what? I think that the president is starting to see that maybe he jumped the gun on this, and he's letting Kelly make some decisions and McMaster make some decisions. Having Jared Kushner there, I mean, may be good for you as someone to just talk to and bounce ideas off of, but I mean, he hasn't been able to get any type of real security clearance this entire time.
Well, yeah, and also let's go to the daughter for a second. I have to say, and I hope this doesn't come off as partisan, when I hear Ivanka Trump is representing the United States in South Korea in discussions with President Moon about arguably the most volatile situation which involves nuclear weapons in the world, I'm amazed that Republicans aren't standing up and screaming at the president. You need a General Mattis. You need a Secretary of State. You need a somebody. Look at the look on your face.
Yeah, you know what it is? It isn't about whether they're family members or not. It's about their experience and their competence. I think Ivanka Trump is probably a very bright young woman.
There are a lot of bright people who are not talking to President Moon in South Korea.
Right. So you, as Jennifer indicates, what you do is you utilize people for what their strengths are. Okay? I mean, Jack Kennedy had Bobby Kennedy as Attorney General. You know,
Bill Clinton had Hillary Clinton run. Do you have a problem with Hillary Clinton doing that?
Not at all.
Because she had brains?
Because she had experience and she was a policy wonk. Jared Kushner, until just recently, was never really a policy wonk. Okay.
Well, he surely had no foreign policy experience. He's now dealing with
None
Mexico, China, the Middle East.
Right.
You know, speaking of foreign policy, one of the most troubling lines, an opening paragraph of a Washington Post story in the last 24 hours, officials in at least 4 countries, including China, by the way, and Israel, Mexico, UAE, have privately discussed ways they can manipulate Jared Kushner, the Washington Post reports, by taking advantage of his complex business arrangements, financial difficulties, and lack of foreign policy experience. I assume the president loves his son-in-law and loves his daughter.
Yep.
This is a pretty sobering comment, is it not?
This illustrates the problem with running the country the way you ran your family business. Yes, you put your most trusted family members in high positions of power in your company because you know that you're probably on the same page, you're going to get stuff done. But in government, it doesn't work. If they don't have the experience to handle this kind of portfolio, they're open, they're vulnerable.
But there's another thing, too. You can fire Steve Bannon. You can fire Mike Flynn. You can't fire easily your daughter and son-in-law.
You can fire them, but there's what happens to your family after that.
Let me be clear before we leave. You're not troubled by the fact that he has his son-in-law and daughter working there. You're troubled by the fact that they don't have the experience to do the jobs for which they are assigned.
They have their own portfolio. Okay? They shouldn't be doing what they're doing now. I think Ivanka Trump is probably an intelligent woman and could develop some expertise. I don't know about Kushner.
10 seconds. Republicans not troubled about this? They're the big foreign policy people? No?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it is an issue. And look, Jared is being naive. He's had questionable business dealings before. I think keeping him at arm's length would have been a much better idea. I mean, in politics, you want your inner circle to be who you want your inner circle to be.
Well, people you trust, right.
But you don't necessarily need to send them out on diplomatic missions.
Fair enough. We got to go. Lila, it's good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Congressman, great to see you. As
You
always,
take care.
pleasure, Jennifer. Thanks
Good to
so
see
much
you.
for your time.